Today I'm going to be taking a look at The Big Bang Theory Season 2, Episode 8, the Lizard-Spock expansion. And we get our explanation for this title right at the beginning of the episode. As Leonard, Sheldon, and Raj are sitting in the apartment, they are debating about what to watch. Sheldon wants to watch Saturn 3, Raj suggests Star Trek Deep Space Nine, and Leonard suggests they split the difference in the numbers and go with Babylon 5, which Sheldon pretty much dismisses right away. Raj suggests to decide what they watch, they should play rock, paper, scissors. Sheldon suggests that they play the superior game of rock, paper, scissors, Lizard-Spock, because he gives more options. And that's where we get our title for the episode. And this is a very interesting point, because this is something that pops up multiple times throughout the show, and it's a pretty interesting addition to the game. So to give a quick run over of the game, as Sheldon does in the episode, it goes like this. Scissors cuts paper, paper covers rock, rock crushes lizard, lizard poisons Spock, Spock smashes scissors, scissors decapitates lizard, lizard eats paper, paper disproves Spock, Spock vaporizes rock, and as it always has, rock crushes scissors. Now that's quite a mouthful, but it does give the game some greater outcomes. Raj and Sheldon give it a try, but they both keep trying to give the Vulcan greeting, which is the symbol for Spock in the game. Howard comes in and he says he has a plan to pick up women tonight. He's going to wear an eye patch to draw attention to himself, and then he's going to throw out negs, which are basically compliments that aren't compliments. They are compliments that are secretly really insults. They're supposed to play on the women's insecurity. He tests this out on Penny and ends up getting his eye patch flung in his face, which he pretty much deserved because that's an awful, terrible plan. Later that night, they're having another debate at the apartment about TV shows. Leonard's watching the Clone Wars TV show, and Sheldon says he won't watch that until he's seen the movie. Leonard makes an attempt to say he wants to watch it now, but Sheldon suggests that they play rock, paper, scissors, Lizard-Spock again, and Leonard just gives up and tells Sheldon to watch whatever he wants. He then gets a call from Howard, who says that he needs help at the Mars rover lab. So the group all goes there, and Howard says he brought a woman there to impress her, saying she could drive a vehicle on Mars. This is Stephanie. She pops out for a moment. Howard reveals that he got the Mars rover stuck in a ditch and can't get it out. He needs Raj and Sheldon to help him with that, and he needs Leonard to take Stephanie home, because they are in a top-secret government facility, and she does not have a clearance to be there in the first place. So they execute this plan. Stephanie leaves with Leonard, and then they start making out in the car. Stephanie clearly wasn't interested in Howard, just in the fact that he said she could drive the vehicle on Mars, which she tells Leonard. Raj and Sheldon attempt to help Howard get the rover unstuck, but are unsuccessful. The room that they're in, honestly, is kind of cool because it actually looks more like a Star Trek bridge a little bit. The way they're sitting is pretty interesting, and it just has a resemblance to that in my mind. When they realize they can't fix it, Howard says plan B is to wipe all the hard drives, erase all their fingerprints off every surface, and bail out. The plan works is as Howard's watching the news the next day, they say that something did happen to the Mars rover, but because of the loss of data, they're not sure who could do it. Penny references the fact that Howard had mentioned that she could drive the Mars rover when they first met, and he is vehemently denying it, saying he knew nothing about that. Leonard gets Sheldon's attention and says he's going out, but can't tell him where or why. And if anybody asks, just tell them he went to work, and he wants to know who would ask. And Leonard didn't really think this through, because if he had just not told Sheldon, it wouldn't have been a problem. Instead, he leaves Sheldon in the situation when he does leave. Sheldon just has to awkwardly say that Leonard went to the office, not that anybody really seemed to care. Where was Leonard really going? Well, he was going to see Stephanie. They had a date planned for that night at her apartment. As they're at the apartment and they start kissing, the phone rings and a message comes on, and it is Howard trying to call Stephanie. He's clearly still trying to pursue her. As their night progresses, we see Howard call multiple times, trying to make plans for a date on Friday for her to meet various members of his family. Howard rushed into things very quickly, it seems. Leonard does start to feel bad and says Stephanie should tell Howard, but not at the moment because they're pretty busy. The next day, Leonard bumps into Penny in the laundry room and asks her about the situation. When she finds out it's Howard, she basically says that Leonard doesn't really need to feel bad about it at all. Asks if he slept with her and congratulates him and says that it doesn't change anything, she's just being nosy about it. Now, it is interesting to note here that Penny doesn't give much of a reaction here. She does want to find out if Leonard slept with the other girl, but she doesn't seem bothered by the fact that he did. No jealousy as she might have shown in Season 1 when Leonard was out with another woman. So it would seem that their pursuit of each other is at a low point at this point in the season. Leonard, because he's with Stephanie at this juncture, and Penny just seems to have moved on and settled for the moment. But Leonard does feel bad, and he goes to try to talk to Howard about it. But as he's about to tell him, Howard gets a call from Stephanie, and she tells him, and Howard tells Leonard that he's dead to him. We next have Sheldon, Howard, and Raj having dinner in the apartment. There's an interesting note here because they have an uneven amount of food. They have one extra dumpling, and Raj wants to know who's going to get it, so they decide to play rock, paper, lizard, Spock. Now, this is interesting because in season 1, when they had a similar situation, Sheldon caused such a scene that they were unable to eventually order. So this does fit the scene because they're able to play rock, paper, scissors, lizard, Spock again, but doesn't fit the overall storyline, as you could assume that if they were ordering Chinese food, Sheldon would have again pitched the same kind of objection. So just a small noticeable potential continuity error here. Leonard comes in and Sheldon tells him that Howard is ignoring him, pretending that he is dead. When Stephanie comes in later, it's apparent that he is also ignoring her, although Sheldon says he's out because Howard broke his pretense by acknowledging that Stephanie was ever in the room. However, Howard changes his tune when they reveal that they were going to introduce him to Stephanie's roommate who just had a breakup. And he says he's happy to see that they're both alive again. And we end the episode with Howard doing the same thing he was doing to Stephanie, trying to call this new girl Lisa to plan a dinner that's probably never going to happen. And we close the episode with another news story about the Mars rover, this one a positive one. It says that due to the mistake that happened, there was a bacteria discovered in the trench that the rover was stuck in, and it potentially proved the existence of life on Mars. And Howard's not going to get the credit for that now, so he's pretty upset. That is The Big Bang Theory, Season 2, Episode 8, the Lizard-Spock expansion. There are a few notable things in this episode, most notably the introduction of rock, paper, scissors, Lizard-Spock. This is not the last time we'll hear about this in the show. It makes a recurrence many times throughout the series. I also don't think this episode is a very high point for Leonard. It's very clear that this girl was never really interested in Howard and wasn't going to date him. However, it was still kind of a jerk move for Leonard to steal his date that night and then wait a while to tell him. He should have either not done it or told Howard right away. That's what a friend would do in that situation. Howard is still just starting out here. He's a very creepy guy. He has all the wrong plans to try to get women. He just hasn't figured out how to go about it yet. It is a relief to know that we do see some growth from Howard later in the show. And the final point of note would just be, again, that this seems to be a very low point for the pursuit of Leonard going after Penny. After their failed attempt at a date, it seems that they've both moved on, and at least for now, neither one is pursuing the other. And they both seem okay with this. That won't stay that way, but that's how it is for now. This is a pretty solid episode, and I would score it at a 8 out of 10. Please share your thoughts on this video in the comments section. Please like this video and subscribe to the channel, and keep an eye out for the next video coming soon.